Hello and a warm Collisions YYC. Welcome to my returning guest, the lovely, the talented, the amazing Miss Colleen Pound. How are you, Colleen?
Tyler Chisholm, I'm so good. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm really excited to have this conversation. You recently went on, we'll just call it a road trip. You went on an adventure. And as a Calgary-based startup founder, you're founder and chief executive officer at Proxure. So we'll let the audience in for a minute, but you were down in the valley. And this whole, I love, as a marketer, as a podcaster, I love a good title. And 3 days in the valley with Colleen, a Calgary startup's perspective, that just hooked me. So then we have to do the episode to now backfill what I think is a great title. So to get the audience a little secret of what we're going to talk about, before we do, I want to not skip past it. What is a Proxure? Let us into the tent and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, so Proxure, we're a data and analytics company. We deliver market intelligence, business intelligence, and predictive pricing and analytics. So what does that mean? It really means when it comes to your legal invoices, we are looking to bring transparency. So an advanced e-billing audit, real-time benchmarking and analytics, and predictive pricing. And we're leveraging AI and ML in a way that hasn't been done before in a really old legacy traditional industry. We're making it easier for corporate clients to get a handle on their spend, to understand where they sit in the market. And ultimately, our goal is to do a couple of things. One is to shift the power from the hands of large firms from being price makers to being price takers. And also to kind of rising tides lifts all boats, to get people to level the playing field when it comes to marginalized individuals so that we have the right people doing the right work at the right price. And we have a belief that kind of better data and better process leads to better business outcomes. And so this is all about putting the data in the hands of the people that can make good decisions with it.
Which primarily in this case would be on the buyer side, right? If I want to interpret
Yes.
that. Because
Yeah,
you really,
that's right.
I heard the power shift. Any pushback from the legal community?
You know what? Legal tech and fintech are very closely related. And, it would be a lie to say that there's never any resistance when you come up with a change. I would say most of the legal tech that exists right now exists for corporate or for law firms. There's not a lot of tech that exists for corporate clients. And as people are looking to understand their data, own their data, harness their data, mine their data, and use that data, it just is incumbent upon corporate clients to really kind of take that ownership. And if you're a firm that's doing a great job with your client and delivering great value, then you would want to welcome the transparency of that, because law firms are also not really good about, they're not good at math. They're not good at estimating. They're challenged and troubled with billing. And also sometimes professional services are challenged with communicating their value. And so this provides an opportunity and a platform for when you're doing a really good job for your client to know that too. And I can't imagine a single service provider that wouldn't want their clients to know that they're doing a good job.
Well, and it allows you to actually have data to prove that from a value to time to money perspective versus just saying, trust me, I'm doing a good job. Right. and not even the good job part, but you're getting good value for what you're paying in reference to the job I'm doing that someone else could be doing, the standardization, the transparency. That's tough in professional services because you're right. Like, how long's a piece of string is the ultimate joke that exists in most professional services environment. Well, there is kind of a length for that string for this job. And we have done it before. So there should be some way to measure that and analyze it.
Well, and it also kind of spurs an increased motivation for productivity, right? For folks to adopt new technology and new tools. You and I have talked about this, the ability to use technology properly to enhance your daily lives. And if there's no kind of spark or incentive to move forward, then it can be very easy to sit where you are and do what you've always done.
Yeah, what is it, Buckminster Fuller? The best way to change a process is just develop a better process. It says
right.
that we will naturally, I think that's what it is, we'll naturally graduate to that going, oh, it's better, versus we have to change. Well, I don't know, this is kind of the way I've done it. It's fine, Inertia is very real.
I'll never forget walking in the halls of ACAD before it was AUA, and on a set of stairs it said, well, we've always done it this way. It's just like the ultimate impetus for, what blocks creativity, what blocks progress, what blocks change, what blocks productivity improvements, and ultimately what blocks innovation.
I think we live in an era where, and you made the comment of like legacy industries, like law, like accounting, like engineering, things like that. But yet we've got technology where everything's up for grabs. The way this is the way we've always done it. Almost feels like a laughable thing to say now in these modern times. But that doesn't mean it's still not a way of acting inside certain sectors.
Yes, because it's comfortable for sure.
Yep.
I just had a 2-hour session with actually one of my peers from SFO this week because we introduced her to some AI and ChatGPT, and then I spent a couple hours with her team teaching them how to use it. And the text that I keep getting about, oh my God, my mind is blown. This is amazing. Yeah. And all these things that we're doing with we named their chat channel Sally. I'm like, talk to Sally like she's your coworker. And just the mind explosion for applying what has been mainstream consumer use, now applying this to business, and what does that mean?
The little wow moments you get when you are playing around, when you're willing to experiment and you're just trying it, testing it, have it help you cook something, help it plan your kid's birthday party, like pick some safe territory, and the art of like, holy shit, I didn't realize this was possible. The snowball gets rolling pretty quickly. Mm.
Yes. It's been a topic of conversation all week long. So, so it's an exciting time. Like, technology's here. We need to use it, and use it for good. And this is a great use. And that's really what Proxure at the end of the day is looking to do.
Well said. And so you have recently gone on can I call it a pilgrimage? It feels like you went to the motherland of the tech startup ecosystem by going down to Silicon Valley. So I'm really curious. You're Calgary based. Obviously, you personally have global and international experience. But for the sake of this conversation, you're a startup founder based in Calgary, and you went down to the Valley. You went to Mecca, if you will. Talk to me a little bit about 3 days in the Valley, like the setup, the experience, the intent, what you ran into. Like, weave us a story. Tell us a yarn, Colleen. Spin us a yarn.
I have so much to say, and I think the most important thing for me to lead with is this realization that I should have been here sooner. Okay. That was a main theme. Like, I should have been in San Francisco 6 to 12 months ago. I didn't really know how or why. And I maybe thought it was too early. And SFO has a much larger network, more women in fundraising and in capital in VC and PE, more dry powder, more exits, more firms that want to invest in women. Like, they just have more money in general, and they're more comfortable with it being early stage. So they're less conservative. They get it. Like I said, they've also had more exits, and so they have more battle scars, and so that was like a major lesson for me. And I would say that a lot of times I talk about, people say, well, accelerators, and I'm like, if I am going to go to an accelerator, I need to get great value, and I need to be meeting people that I wouldn't otherwise be able to meet, or be able to meet them in a velocity that I wouldn't be able to. And I would say that Joanne has cultivated this incredible network, and this program, and these people who show up, and they show up with curiosity and kindness and like genuine authenticity about you and your business and how to help. And that was a real warm hug, especially when you're in the middle of a fundraise, because fundraising is hard in general. It is hard right now. It is harder in Canada than it is in the US. And so that was really refreshing. I mean, like, if I start at the beginning, and I'll just keep talking until you interject. And
I want to just give Joanne a shout out. It's Joanne Fedeko, and is it still Connection Silicon Valley? Is that still the name of her? I'm creeping her on LinkedIn a little bit right now. I have her on the podcast. Yeah, okay, I see that. Yeah, mentorship and commercialization, startup genome. She's involved in so many things, but she has been the face and the voice and a real anchor for this for many, many years. I think I had her on the podcast maybe even 3 or 4 years ago. It's been so long I forget, but we had a lovely conversation. And what's the differences, and what do you see here, and what's the value? And I love the going to a more, I'm just going to overuse the word, but more mature environment. They've had more exits, they've had more cycles, they've been in it longer. And I was recently had a speaker I was at the Champion Summit last week, and there was a speaker from the Valley, and she talked about moving from Boston to the Valley, didn't know anybody. She said very quickly, like, one person goes, I like what you're about, I'm going to introduce you around. She said the pace and the velocity at which the door opens blew her away. And she goes, sometimes in other markets, people hold their cards a bit close and, well, I've got to get to know you. And before I trust you she said that didn't seem to be the case, that the barrier was lower and the willingness to like, well, let me open some doors for you. Let me introduce you over here. You still have to be you. You still have to show up with credibility. But she said, hey, the rest of the world could take a lesson. I thought I kind of heard that in what you just said.
1,000%. And I would actually say that it did give me some pride that I do feel like Calgary is a little bit like that. Like, we're the baby version of that, but we are warm, we are inviting, we are inclusive. I would say that
we tend to follow through on invites when we say we're going to do it.
Yes. Well, and we are quick to connect, right? Like we are quick to make those introductions. And so I do think that is something that we have in common with San Francisco for sure. And I would say that I think through Joanne's curation, a lot, and also just because you're in the Valley, a lot less bro-y.
Okay. Well, I heard you say that. A lot more females in all the variety of roles. You talked about from early capital to raising that have had multiple exits. So you can get out of that. You didn't have to wear your Patagonia vest. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. That is the best reference that we will have.
Well, it is kind of it's a bit of the uniform, isn't it?
Yes, it can be for sure.
It can be. Yes, we're playing a little bit loose with our generalizations over here, but hey, that's why they're generalizations. When you went down there, I should have been there sooner, and there's just more of everything. I love that as a bit of a banner. When you went down there, I want to meet potential funders. I want to meet people that I can just learn that have been down this road before, other founders who have exited. Because I know you, did you have a list of like, this is my order of operations and priorities of what I want to get out of this trip?
Yes. I wanted, we're in the middle of a raise. I want US money. So I'm looking for US investment, ideally a lead, and customer acquisition. So those are the two main things. And obviously the network is the way in which I'm going to get both of those. Mm-hmm. And I was blown away by the feedback and the quality caliber of people, the willingness to have a conversation, the experience in the room. It started on that, and I'll give a little bit of a flavor of the itinerary and what it was like if for someone who wants to go down. So there's some prep work and pre-calls, which is great. And like many founders, I had zero time to do anything I was supposed to do until I actually got there. Right. So I did the absolute bare minimum because I was like firefighting and first in, first out kind of thing. One thing that I did for myself that isn't pathways related, however, was really important and good for me was there was this great SF MoMA exhibit that was going on. And I made it a priority to go there. I had a little bit of time before dinner on the first day. And I went there and just kind of like took a deep breath and grounded. And it was a wonderful, wonderful exhibit. And it actually, the exhibit, Ruth Asana, was a combination of two of my favorite artists, Katie Owie and Harry Kiyoka, who are local to Calgary. And it was like if they made an art baby. So even though I was away, I still felt like home because Harry and Katie were kind of there and just did something to center and ground myself. So that was just a great personal moment to remember who you are and where you are and kind of get the creative juices flowing. And then Joanne hosted dinner. So our first meeting is not coming into like a stiff law firm boardroom. It's, we're showing up at Aquilina and we're having a dinner. And so I think the importance of connection and just getting to know each other on that informal level just opens up the aperture for us to get to know each other a little bit. I know I'm saying this, get to know each other a little bit on a personal level, but you're coming together with people you don't know. And everyone who's coming has a specific agenda. It's likely around fundraising. You're founders. You're at some stage where your growth. You're probably having some challenges. You've got this dual facade of being like, we're super successful, and also we actually really need help, and we really need funds. And so that dinner I thought was great, and actually helped set the stage for the following day. I was sitting across with one of my peers, and we started talking about when was the last time you were vulnerable. So that was an important moment because that's how we started the following day. Her and I were first and second to introduce ourselves, and we like kept the vulnerability train going, and that kind of opened up the conversation. And then my seatmate to my right, Laura, we just bonded on a whole different level, like hustle, fashion, personality, hilarity. So that's nice, because you always need to have like a friend or two when you go into a new place and space. And so for me, showing up, not knowing anyone, and then I already had like at least 2 people that the next day I already had some friends. I was in kindergarten, first day of class, and I already had 2 friends. And so that was super helpful.
Well, the value of connecting on a human level, like I really appreciate, and walking in, you didn't just get off a plane and go and stand in the street and go, I wonder where I'm going to meet people. You were connected into an organized, very deliberate, purposely built experience. And I love, even if it's an event, the dinner before, you get to know people, you show up the next morning, it's a completely different vibe. It changes everything. Get all those little new people jitter stuff going on, because we're all human, right? And I love how we all rolled in there with our agendas and our to-do lists, but yet we're a bunch of people having kind of a messy experience. So let's get to know each other and connect. I personally love that. And it makes day 2 exponentially better, in my opinion.
It does. I would agree.
Cool.
And then, it was like, we did introductions, and that was great. And then we had, Joanne does a great job on the programming. So, pardon me. We had a founder's journey panel, which was incredible. Ruby and Susan, Kelly and Badar. And these are women who have like legit built stuff, legit exited, have a ton of cash, have reinvested, have made it their personal mission to take any of the money that they've made and reinvest it into other female founders and funds. So like, these are people who are really doing the work and who have been there, done that, have the scars. And because of Joanne, they're willing to share it all. There's no gatekeeping. There's no key messaging. You can ask any question that you want. And they were willing to connect. And one lady, Susan, I mean, she was there on Tuesday. I had a call with her on Friday. She was probably one of the most exponential experiences that I had there. Pumped our tires, was like, this should be easy. We can do this, no problem. Shifted a little bit in terms of our raise strategy and our positioning and our messaging and how we're thinking. So like quick hits, high value, high energy, like 12 out of 10, no notes. And then we had Peter, who what really talked to us about leadership. And as founders, you don't spend a ton of time thinking about you and yourself and self-care. And, it was a great opportunity to anchor back into why you're here. And he also asked what I thought was a super profound question, pardon me, which was, what did it take to get you here? Which for me, if you've ever seen that movie, Erin Brockovich, really old, long time ago.
I have seen it. Yeah, I have.
There's this scene where she's like, this is my blood, my sweat, my tears, my time away from my kids. That's what it reminded me of. It's like, what does it take to get you where you are? And so, it was a real reflection moment for me, because we've been at this like ostensibly for 2.5 years now. And we're so close, and we're getting ready to launch and all those kind of things. And it's meant I have been super unavailable to my friends and not been able to hang out, and, made some different financial decisions in order for us to move forward, and leverage a lot of friendships and, network and put yourself in continually vulnerable places. So that was a really important moment. And then also like where's Colleen in 5 years? Like just the reminder of like, why are you doing this? And that question actually helped me re-anchor even when I introduced Proxure today. Mm-hmm. I often lead with what are the features and functions and value proposition of the company and the organization and the service that we provide. But ultimately, I'm excited because we're gonna create a power shift, and we're gonna help people do better, and we're gonna help the right people get the recognition for the good work that they're doing, and like that's super exciting to me.
I love it. I love how you've given us a picture of here's, yes, I want to find more people that have exits. I want to find potential customers. But what I'm really hearing, the real deep benefit or the intangible tangible is the human side of it, and the re-anchoring you in the journey as a founder, which is lonely. It's soul sucking. It's a series of like highs followed by deep lows. And well, what is that? What is it? If I had friends who are in the military, it's like long periods of boredom interspersed with moments of terror, followed by periods of boredom again. And the startup version is that is like moments of winning followed by long, like, what am I doing? What life choices have I made? And where the hell am I going with my life?
Yes, you're always questioning, and then you're like, am I doing enough? Am I doing too much? Am I doing more? Am I doing it right? Like all those kind of things. So, like lots of questions, and just also I'd like, I mean, and a sincere shout out to the curation of the peer group. What was most evident to me at lunch day one, or like 1.5, like our first full day, was after we really learned about each other, it was all about how can we help each other and how can we connect. And so, I connected with some gals, and one of them needed legal advice. So I connected them with my business partner, who was able to help them like immediately, right time, right space, yep, right advice, kind of thing.
It's all about the network. It's all about the network, right?
Well, and I think I go, and I was looking for the network, outside of the peer group.
Oh, okay.
It didn't occur to me that, and it should, of course, because there's value in all network, but just the enthusiasm and the veracity at which people really want to help, because you're in it, they're in it, they want you to help them, you want to help them, and they want to help you.
How many people were in this cohort?
We were 17.
Okay, that's a nice size. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice size, and we're
right in the edge of being bigger, but bigger than smaller. You got that 8 to 10, which is almost too small. You got that 12 to 14, which I really love around the table. 17 to be pushing it. Above 20, it changes. Then you get factions, and you get this group like talking at this side of the table and that. 17 is an interesting number, I think, strategically.
It felt more like the 12 to 14, like in terms of practice and the dynamics. And so I mean, like Alina, Dom, Laura, Olya, like we're in pretty regular contact. We've got a WhatsApp group thanks to Joanne, so we can still
these were all individuals from Calgary.
These were mostly individuals from Canada.
Okay.
There were a couple of U.S. folks that Joanne let sneak in, and there were some Canadians living in the U.S., but primarily and predominantly Canadian.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Alina, Dom. There's some names in there that I think I recognize, or I think I know who they are. So that's why I was just checking on kind of how that cohort looked, how it came together.
Definitely different Alina.
Okay, good. Yeah, because it's not Alina you introduced me to, so fair enough. Yeah, it's Calgary. It's 1 degree. How long were you down there for? I joked about 3 days in the valley, but I think you were down there a little bit longer.
I was. So I decided to, I was there 6 days. I went in for the dinner on the Monday. So it's like dinner Monday, all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday. And then I had the good fortune of being invited to a Wonder Women dinner on Friday night, which is a whole separate vibe and amazing. It's instigated from a lady at Hatchery, BC, who just like these dinners happen all over the U.S. They're dinners of like 20 women, and you just show up at someone's house and you have a party and you get to know them. And so it was one of the first ones.
These all sound like a blast to me. These are all right up my alley. I loved all these. They all sound great.
It was amazing. It was so great. And actually, Dion, who hosted us at her house, she started off the dinner with like a really the question is great, which is tell us something about yourself that Google can't tell, that Google doesn't know, or Google can't tell you. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, like I'm of an age that like lots of things Google doesn't know about me and does not have the photos to prove it.
Luckily for both of us.
Yes, exactly. And she started the tone by sharing a really salacious story. So she set the bar high. The
theme has been set for the evening.
Yes, exactly. So in my case, I actually gave them 3 options. I gave them 3 one-word topics, and they could vote to hear which story they heard. But that was great too. And then I came back on Sunday. So, and I would do that again every time. And the reason why is because I left time to meet with people in person after the fact. And so I did get a chance to meet with some folks, kind of Thursday night and Friday during the day. So I would highly recommend not just the in and out, come in, ground, do your stuff, and leave some time to connect after, I would say.
Who would you recommend shouldn't go to something like this? Speaking to the Calgary startup ecosystem specifically, who shouldn't go?
People who are closed-minded.
And and carnies. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Small hands.
Yeah,
Smell like
I know.
cabbage.
Smell like cabbage. See, we are of a generation. Half our audience is like, what? Never
You're
mind.
Gonna have to like, Google that reference.
Don't.
I think, I can't think really of anyone who shouldn't go, because if you're in a tough place, the energy can lift you up.
Yeah.
If you're in an expansive place, you're just going to get that force multiplier. If you don't need to raise money, then great. Then you're going there and you're here to meet people and start to build those relationships. And if you are there to raise money, then great. Like, that's the place to be. I would make the distinction. So we were in San Francisco, not in Sand Hill. So not in like true Silicon Valley, like Sand Hill Row kind of thing. Although I did have a lunch out there as well, which the VC conversation was, come back when you have 10 million in ARR. And I was like, okay, I'll see you next year. And I would rent a car next time. This is just practical, tactical, because I wanted to walk everywhere and I was very central. And but the hills up and down, I do not want to arrive sweaty and gross and like turned around. But then the alternate to that is then you have to find parking, and like if you're not a native, I was thinking
that too. Yeah.
But yeah, for going to Oakland or going to Sand Hill, definitely get a car, because you want to be meeting with people when it works for them. And so if you're based in downtown, like at Union Square, like that's a 40 minute hike on a good day.
Okay. I love practical and tactical. I should have went sooner. Should have, could have, and would have. What would have been, what might have changed if you would have went sooner? That's just an abstract question for you. Mm-hmm.
I think that our experience raising in Canada, compared to raising in the US and just the conversations, is that folks in the US when you're pitching them, they're warm, they're kind, they're curious, they're interested. Even if they want to challenge you, they're challenging you to really understand and try to figure something out. And I've sometimes had the experience in Canada where you're pitching and it's all about them. And in San Francisco, it's all about us. And maybe even all about you, right? Like if I'm pitching to someone in SFO, they're like, what about this? And what about that? And how does that work? And, what's been your experience and what have they said? And so it's really more of a genuine, friendly conversation. And whereas in Canada, it's, well, you've seen it. What's your ARR? What's your, what's this? What about the traction? And what, I don't know, is this a defensible moat? And, will people be resistant and whatever? And so there's more expansive thinking and seeing the opportunities. I mean, folks were genuinely interested in our business and they made analogies really easily. Like they were like, oh, it's like this. Instead of in Canada, they're like, well, you tell me, what are you analogous to? They were
seeking to understand, not necessarily attack. I've heard that from other people. You're not saying the word attack, but I've heard the like, hey, maybe a little bit more friendly, a little bit more collaborative, less trying to prove what you know and how dumb I am. And that you might privilege me with your money kind of thing. And I've heard that from founders more off air than on air.
They're super generous, and they weren't looking to test us as to understand, and they got it. Mm-hmm. And that's cool. That's cool. And the analogies came easy. Yeah, it was just great. And also, I mean, we got overwhelmingly positive feedback. So that doesn't hurt either. They were like, yeah, this is great. We love it. We don't think you should have any trouble raising the money. And I was like, great. Like, let's see where that goes. TikTok. If our challenge has been nailing down a lead, and they were like, you don't need a lead, Colleen, either be your own lead, write the term sheet, shop it around. And this is a great opportunity for them to get in, and you may not raise another round. So you're giving them the gift of this opportunity. And also like, let's just shake down some angels and get going. It's the experience and the maturity of the ecosystem, and that quiet confidence. I think and maybe it's the difference between new money and old money. San Francisco is new money, but it's old money compared to the tech ecosystem money that exists in Canada, because we haven't had that many exits yet. Yep. And Canadians, we are more conservative, in part due because we haven't had as many exits, or they haven't been as large. I think Canada's learning. And it would be great if the funders could also be learning from their counterparts in SFO. And that's not to say I haven't met with some great VCs in Canada, because I absolutely have, right? There's lots of people who are willing to make introductions and who are super kind and generous and genuine. And the flavor is definitely different and better in San Francisco.
I love it. So this has been like a week and a half, I think, right? 2 weeks. This will come out in a few weeks. We're kind of end of June. US dollars and US leads were two of your objectives. There's a lot of other things that showed up that maybe you just didn't know. But you were open, you were able to receive them, you were grounded as you in that space. How's the dollars and the leads netted out? Too early to tell?
Well, we're following up and having conversations. Like, we had a ton of intros and invites. And so it's having those initial conversations, sharing our pitch deck and our demo in our data room, having follow-on conversations. I would say that we have a little bit more work to do on our end, because we've been overwhelmed with, we're raising money and also getting ready to launch, and also fixing some operational items for scale. So focus is required in order to close the round. Yep. And so we've definitely got a little bit more work to do on the follow-ups. I'm excited and I'm positive. I think we are well positioned for an angel. And I think that's really maybe where we're going to end up is, we'll take some VC money and some fund, like institutional fund money, if they're interested. And we're okay to go with a smaller round, because then that's going to bump the valuation, and we may only do one more round.
And obviously, and it sounded like this trip really added and gave you confidence in making that, like taking a stance on that, right? Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's understanding how far along we are, how unique we are, what the opportunity is. There's just not there's just not the scarcity mentality in San Francisco. Yep. It is more of the, this is possible, and how is it possible, and let's get you there. And so, it really, I'm going back for sure. Like, no question about that. It's just a matter of if I'm going to go between now and September, or if I'm going to wait until September. So, I like it. Yeah. And we had one gal in our cohort who, this was her third time, and she said, you come back each time as a different person, like as a different version of yourself. Yeah. And I'm super excited to experience that.
That's very, very cool. Obviously this was a group of Canadians. When you're talking to anyone based there, advantage, disadvantage, doesn't matter. Did they care where we were from? Obviously they were in those conversations knowing this was a cohort from Canada. Did that play was that any part of the narrative, or did it matter?
It didn't come up.
That's perfect. Yeah.
No. I think again, Joanne has done a great job of igniting that network. I mean, she had people fly in for a panel, like for an hour and a half panel on their own volition. So
how long has she been kind of doing this?
I think she's been doing this for 10 years, and maybe in the Valley for 20. Yeah, I'm probably wrong, but I'm directionally right and precisely wrong in that. But she's been doing it a long time, and she's super passionate about helping Canadians. She's actually in Canada right now, although it won't be by the time this airs. But it's it is that the Canadian connection, the female connection, both of those things are super powerful. And I actually was talking with someone yesterday at Mount Royal University, and I'm like, you know what? We need to get young people in high school and university going on the same version of the trip to Mecca that I did, to get them excited, to open their eyes. Because I don't want anyone else to be saying, oh, I should have been here sooner.
The art of knowing what's possible, of knowing what exists, and phenomenal. I love it. You would go back. I love the balance of what you explained between there were some real hard realities of but there was also the humanity of it, and how deliberately this sounds like that was curated. The intentionality around that to me is a real huge plus. Just not knowing what we were going to get into today, because I met Joanne. Again, I heard about it, but you experienced it. That's why I was so curious to get your point of view.
Well, and hilariously, there's one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, which is we spent a whole afternoon pitching. So Joanne lines up, she shares all our information in advance, and you pitch for 3-4 hours nonstop, a minimum of 2 people every half an hour. It's a round robin, and it is exhilarating and exhausting. And that's like you go in thinking, okay, I'm going there to pitch for money. But it's the last thing I mentioned.
Interesting. I love how much was surrounded around that. So if you're listening to this and you're a startup founder anywhere, but specifically you're in Calgary, can you reach out to Joanne? Is this invite only? Is it, how does that even happen? How would another female founder find their way there, or any founder for that matter?
Yeah, I would connect with Joanne, and she's super accessible, super reachable. If you're in Canada, a Canadian female founder, Joanne is a great stop for you.
Get on her newsletter, follow her. I get her newsletter all the time. I always read it. I'm always so excited. It's one of those like, wow, that's happening. Oh my God, that's going on. I guess worth just reading it just to get a little snapshot into the stuff that she shares.
Yeah. And we've got some great Canadian female VCs like Stand Up, Sandpiper, some of those, and so we have some. We're starting, and it's also totally different with Joanne in San Francisco. So it's an and. It's not an either or an or. It's an and.
Well, you said it earlier. It's not right or wrong or good or bad. I'm trying to get those out of my vernacular altogether. We're just newer on the journey.
Yeah, we're learning.
Just and of course, it's going to be different. It's another part. It's another part of the world. It's another country. It's another culture, right?
Yes. So being an aware learner, I think, is important. And sometimes I think we forget that we're learning as an ecosystem here.
Oh, mic drop moment. Mic drop. That's great, Colleen. If I am dying to write you a check, how would I do that?
So you can contact me at Proxure, Colleen, Colleen at Proxure.io, Proxure.io, 403-836-1347. I take all calls as it relates to money. But more importantly, like we'd love to just meet you and get to know you, show you the value of our product. And we're also launching. So customer acquisition is super important to us as well.
And did you have anyone that we talked about the money side of it from a leads perspective? Did it end up transcribing to that, or was it more potentially funding partners or just connections? Was there actually potential customers in the room as well?
We ended up focusing mostly on the raise, and anyone I talked to, they said, "Yeah, we'll help you raise, and then we'll talk about customers."
Yeah, let me introduce you to my network more so than that network being in the room at that time. And that makes
exactly.
More sense.
So when I'm contemplating my next trip to SFO, it might be more on the customer side. I love it because we're going to close this round like pretty soon. Lock down our final angels and then get going. But then it's more. I want to talk to you about funding, for maybe our next round. It's going to be at a higher valuation. And also we'd love to get you and the people that using the product so that you can see and understand the value.
The Rolodex and the value of the warm introduction and the willingness to do that is there's not much in life happens without a relationship somewhere at the core of it, right? Mm-hmm.
No, although hilariously, we had to explain what a Rolodex was in our cohort because the demographics were spread.
It's this weird thing that you put a bunch of names into. They're like, I still don't get it. Yeah, no. Hey, we made an Austin Powers reference, so I figured you were okay with the Rolodex reference.
I am for sure. I was the one who had to explain the Rolodex, and I'm like, it's like recipe. But then I had to go, recipe cards, right? It's like saying when someone asks you where you're from and you say Canada, and if they have recognition, then you might say Alberta.
You might narrow it.
It's a narrowing of the funnel in all ways, which I think is a great way to end. I mean, you actually put Joanne on my radar, so thank you for that. Joanne was phenomenal. The trip was amazing. The peers, the cohort, the speakers, the connections, the ability to pitch and the follow-ups. Yeah, it was a 12 out of 10, no notes.
Sounds fabulous. Colleen, thanks for coming on and sharing. I think this was really valuable. You 6 months ago or 8 months ago should have listened to this podcast and you would have maybe got there sooner. So let's hope from a curiosity perspective that it was already on their radar and maybe you lowered some barriers and increased some ambition and some energy to go do it, which I think is the core takeaway. Do it now. Don't wait.
I hope so. And happy to chat with anyone who's got questions too, from an attendee and a participant perspective. Thank you so much, Tyler. This is awesome. As always, you take me places where I didn't even know we were going to go, and I have a great time doing it.
Boom. Mic drop for everybody. Colleen, thank you. Thank you so much. Good luck with finalizing your raise and the future success of Proxure.
Thanks, Tyler.